So because of the position that we need to put our legs into for this arm balance, you'd be good to warm up your hips beforehand with some external hip rotation. So poses like lizard or pigeon would be a perfect place to start. If you're wanting to jump straight in, just hold each of these for 30 to 60 seconds each side, and then let's give it a go. If you take your legs out in front of you and keep your legs bent to begin with, we twist our body to one side. I'm going to twist to the right so you can see what I'm doing. Everything that we do in one direction, you can obviously then try on the other side. One side is generally going to be easier for you than the other, just because most bodies have a strong side and a weak side. So give both sides a try and see which one works better for you. Once you've twisted off to one side, the left hand goes between the thighs and then buries underneath the thigh. So both hands are now pointing in the right direction. And as we do that, we should notice that the left tricep and the inner left thigh are almost automatically connected. Now, this is our most important part of the pose, because as we start moving into it and balancing on the hands, this tricep is what's going to be the shelf to support the balance of the legs. And then we counterbalance the weight of the legs with a lean towards our right hand with the torso. It will all become clear. So with the knees bent and we've turned to one side, we've taken note of the inner thigh and the tricep connecting. This right leg, because it has no support, there is no arm that it's going to be resting on, we want to cross that ankle over the left. The left leg is going to hold our right leg up. So we take those hands as if they were doing a plank, so they're about shoulder width apart. The fingertips are nicely spread, so we've got a surface area to be balancing on. And we want to think of gripping the floor. So imagine the floor is like sand and you're trying to take a handful of sand. You're really holding on to the floor, and that's going to recruit a lot of strength in your fingertips, into your forearms, and all the way up your arm. So to begin with, we want to try and get used to the strength that we need to find lift in the hips. We push down through those hands. We think of the thigh and the tricep staying connected. And now I'm going to send my chest way out in front of my fingertips. I'm not going directly upwards. I'm going to go forwards. So that means my elbows are going to have to bend. So I'm sending my chest forwards and seeing if I can find this hinging motion in my elbows. So my elbows are going from pretty much straight in this position to a 90-degree bend in this position. The hips have lifted, but the feet are staying down whilst we get used to this forwards and down motion to get our hips off of the floor. Notice as when you do this hinging shape, that inner left thigh and the back of the left tricep stay connected, and as the chest comes forwards, that thigh is resting on the back of the arm. So once we've got used to that movement of sending the chest forwards to allow the hips to lift, we've really already done the hardest part. But then let's see if we can add the feet and make it into a true arm balance. So as before, we're going to hook the right ankle on top of the left so this right leg has its support. We're twisting to the right, the left arm threads between the legs, hands placed like a plank pointing to the right hand side. The inner left thigh and the back of the left tricep are connected. So as we find our way into the balance, we want to really think of clamping our legs onto this arm. They're going to hold on tight because the arm is what's holding them up. So as you find that lift in your hips, as your chest goes forwards, you're going to squeeze your thighs together. And you may find as you do that, your feet leave the floor anyway. But squeeze your thighs together, reach your feet away from you, and let your body weight lean slightly towards your right back hand. Let's give it one more go, or you can pause me and give it as many goes as you like. Thread that arm, clamp the legs around the tricep, let the hips lift, squeeze the thighs as the toes reach away and that right elbow pulls in. Maybe even take your gaze out towards your toes and hold your balance here. If you're having trouble here, some of the issues you might be encountering is that if you can't bury your arm low enough for your inner thigh and your tricep to connect, let's say we're struggling to get it to come past the elbow, that's where we need to go back a few steps and keep working on stretches such as lizard and pigeon so that you can get this compression in the body. We might also be struggling with the fear of sending our body weight forwards. Often when I teach this to people in real life, I see them not wanting to bend their elbows. They take this position, they think of going forwards, but they refuse to bend their elbows, and so there's no lift that's found. So remember that those elbows need to bend. So maybe use a cushion to place out onto the mat way in front of your fingertips, and that serves not only as a safety blanket, making you feel a little bit more secure, but it's target practice, reminding you where to send your body weight. So way out in front of those fingertips, we clamp the thighs around the tricep and we send our chest towards that pillow. If all goes wrong, we've got a nice place to fall. Another idea perhaps to try to give us a little helping hand is to use our trusty blocks. So sit yourself up onto your block, elevate those sit bones a little higher, then everything else stays the same. Thread your arm, hook your ankle, but now we've already lifted our hips that little bit further. Like I say, that lift of the hips and the chest going forwards really is the hardest part of the pose. The legs, they follow once we've nailed that bit. So lift those hips a little higher, then you'll also find that your arm is a